Throughout these modules, we've explored the national park not only for what they protect and provide to the public, but by how they operate. Climate change has already impacted parks across the NPS system, and these impacts are projected to intensify in the future. Information regarding how park resources, values, assets, visitors, and the broader public will experience the impacts of climate change will inform how park managers respond appropriately to current outcomes and anticipated futures. As we've discussed, developing these management objectives depends on the interaction between exposure to climate change, sensitivities to those changes, and a capacity to adapt to climate stressors. Presently, NPS has produced park-specific climate exposure reports, articulating plausible climate scenarios, also known as climate futures, for each park. With your help, the Regional Climate Sensitivity Report Series will build on those exposure reports by considering the sensitivities of vegetation, wildlife, cultural resources, visitor use, and assets to past and projected climate change. These sensitivities are mediated through disturbances from climate extremes, the interaction of climate with other stressors, shifting demographic patterns, and the impacts of multiple co-occurring events. Each report in this series outlines the most important and impactful climate futures that are anticipated for a specific region. Reports are enriched with examples from national parks and climate research local to each region, and this includes consequential climate-related hazards such as wildfires, zoonotic diseases, sea level rise, at both a regional and unit scale. It also includes how people interact with, define, and are reimagining these spaces. In designing these reports, two primary considerations were made. First, reports must broadly match the scale of key climate patterns and affected resources. And second, reports should leverage expertise and well-established communication already ingrained throughout NPS efforts, such as Climate Change Response Program and inventory and monitoring networks, and regional NPS unit partners, such as our academic institutions, nonprofit affiliates, and intersecting and governmental and tribal agencies. Among NPS, tribal, federal, state, and nonprofit partners, there are varying degrees and types of expertise. Interpretive rangers, burn bosses and hotshot fire crews, facilities managers, restorationists, and biotechs each have their own specialized skills and jargon. NPS climate sensitivity reports aim to communicate intersecting effects of climate change across disciplines so that park employees and subject matter experts will better understand what challenges face parks beyond the focus of their own work. These reports are made publicly accessible through the Integrated Resource Management Application, also known as IRMA, an online repository managed by NPS. The primary intended audiences are professional park resource managers and their collaborators. The objective of these reports will be to provide and document our current understandings of key climate trends, provide baseline information that can facilitate within park and within region dialogue about the disparate impacts of climate change on our park resources, to inform park management of the breadth of climate change outcomes they may need to anticipate within their region, and to provide relevant information in a format that's easily and efficiently incorporated into park planning, presentations, and other park products and interpretive work, and to guide parks to next steps for planning and management. As you prepare your report and conduct research, you want to ask yourself the following questions. What unique abiotic factors define your study region? How will climate change alter the resources and assets within that area as well? Ultimately, this conversation is also about people, and you'll want to think about the human system here as well. When thinking about these systems, what are the through lines amidst diverse management objectives, constraints, and expertise that interact our natural and human world? For the purposes of these reports, NPS units have been divided among territories that roughly correspond to NPS's inventory and monitoring regions. I&M regions typically correspond to floristic provinces and/or ecoregions and often intersect with common natural and cultural histories. These 32 regions provide resource inventories that help us understand the range of natural resources in and around our parks. Long-term monitoring helps us understand how these resources may be changing over time, and the data and reports generated from these I&M regions will be an essential resource for you as you write your report. Already, 4 reports centering in the Western continental US have been written. These reports, as well as a structured template we will provide, offer another point of reference in your work. Each section within the template provides detailed instructions for the types of information that will be most useful when writing a holistic overview of the issues that face the resources, assets, and values you elect to cover in your report. In addition to I&M data reports, there are a suite of other NPS resources that can also assist you in this task. NPS's IRMA, Integrated Resource Management Application web portal, archives numerous reports and white papers. This not only includes the inventory and monitoring network reports, but also cultural resource assessments that correspond to specific parks or may cover cultural elements that span multiple parks or geographic areas. IRMA also includes peer-reviewed journal articles published by NPS or by academic partners in conjunction with NPS. You'll also find regional and park-specific documents that cover planning, park and regional logistics and operations, and you can also find ArcMaps, raw data, and data programs within IRMA as well. Additionally, most national park sites host their own unique web pages, as do many park-specific nonprofit partners. These sites are another great resource for getting basic overviews of a park, finding park planning documents and white papers, and learning about current stewardship goals and projects. These sites frequently provide up-to-date information and news about park conditions and can be useful for finding relevant anecdotes when telling the story of climate future and climate change. And partner organization websites are also another great venue for hosting peer-reviewed reports or planning documents. Climate change affects every aspect of park management, and in this way, all information, whether that's visitor demography and usage, wildlife migration data, technical reports on infrastructure upgrades, regional utilities, roads documents, or state or tribal natural disaster mandates, provide us with keen insights. While historical resources can be essential to understanding the political and cultural heritage and infrastructural planning for a region, up-to-date inventory information, climate analysis, and scientific reports should foreground your writing. As climate change response and science adapts to new information, reports authored within the last 5 years will provide the most accurate snapshot of present and likely future conditions. Preparation of your report also includes meeting specific style guides and communication standards so that these documents are accessible to the widest possible audience. As co-authors on these reports, this process offers an opportunity to learn the specific technical writing styles we use for government report writing. Ultimately, these reports will be published to NPS's IRMA and will receive a DOI, Digital Object Identification Number. Brevity is essential, but it can be hard to distill disparate climate change concerns and futures for the vast areas we'll be covering into brief documents. Illustrating these ideas in a way that is approachable to someone who is not versed in climate science, archaeology, or trail maintenance does present its own obstacles. In this process, try not to lose sight of the forest or forest fires, the case may be, for the trees. Focus instead on the big picture by describing trends and relevant examples. This can include identifying key natural disasters or extreme events that are already taking place in parks and may foreshadow the types of challenges resource managers may expect in the future. Also, you can rely on case studies and adaptation. What sorts of creative solutions, problem solving, or setbacks have been encountered as parks in your region tackle the many complexities of climate change? What does park response look like in your region? Are there shifting patterns in when people visit these park sites, the types of recreation that occurs in those parks? And who actually visits these parks? Have we seen any demographic trends in park visitorship or in the municipalities and regions in which these parks are situated? What is that relationship between human landscape and climate change? All of these parks exist within the larger cosmos of public and natural spaces and interests, so pay attention to the collateral or the unforeseen impacts of climate change as well. Outliers can be just as important as averages when we attempt to comprehend the spectrum of outcomes in a very uncertain future. Whether you're a lifelong resident of the territory you'll be writing about in this report, or you're taking in these landscapes the first time with fresh eyes, the national parks, their natural beauty, history, and legacy belong to all of humankind. These are your parks, and these are your stories to tell. On behalf of the National Park Service, thank you for your support in the continued conservation of these lands and by lending your expertise. The diverse knowledge, ideas, and experience you bring allow NPS to better plan for a spectrum of climate change outcomes. And how we respond to these challenges will be stronger because of you.